I think in terms of housing for the future and where we need to start setting the benchmark is what we were able to achieve here in a fairly complex way and major building ways, we should be able to build that into lifetime homes, which is about the doors as a standard now are X size, but to make it easy to extend them, to open them up, or to not have a door in there and to make a particular area far more accessible as well. As a wheelchair user, I find it rather frustrating that I've sat on now 20 years worth of disability discrimination, and yet I still can't get in probably 50% of the shops in the high street. So that's got to be major disappointment, and I think that's where we need far more regulation. And I think the whole disability agenda in terms of access, jobs, through to accessible housing needs to be far more rigorously enforced, because all the time there's well, you might have to do this, or you can do this if you want to. Planners, builders, architects are not going to do it. And I think I've got 20 years of evidence that supports that. Since I became disabled, I became embroiled in all things disability. And one of the things that I found frustrating is when I went to a football ground and lots of people used to stand, is I couldn't see anything. And so I thought about how we might come to a solution across football stadia. And so I developed the idea of a supervisor. The idea of the supervisor is a very simple concept. You've got a riser and a seat, a riser and a seat, a riser and a seat. But if people stand, you can't see as a wheelchair user. But if you just extend the height of one of the risers, all of a sudden, no matter what, you can see anywhere across the whole of the ground. And this is what you've got.
It's really important because so many families take this sort of thing for granted, but for us to be able to do something all together as a family and enjoy ourselves, particularly coming to football, which is something that we all love to do. It's great to see that the accessibility that we have at home can be mirrored here in a football stadium, particularly when it's our local football team.
And if you go to the O2, for instance, it's in there. If you go to the Olympic Park, it's in there. So to kind of be able to say to people, that was my idea, simple idea, that come out of a problem faced by people in a wheelchair at football stadium, yeah, I'm incredibly proud of that. And so I think my message to parliamentarians, my message to designers, to builders, is to have accessibility and lifetime homes built into everything that you do, into all the mindset behind the way that we develop and design things. Because if it does, it brings huge rewards for the future. What do we hear on the news all the time? An ageing population. So the other thing is we've got to stop our ageing population bed blocking our hospitals. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to keep them at home, but they've got inaccessible homes. You know that they've got inaccessible homes. You have a solution, and that's to build accessible homes and get them on everybody's agenda. I don't think we can place too much importance on the value of accessible homes, and for us particularly as a family. We've had lots of stresses and strains, and lots of families will tell you, particularly with disabled children, it's a fight. Every day it's a fight for this and it's a fight for that and whatever. So to have a living environment that was not accessible, I think potentially, and I'm sure that evidence would support this, it creates dysfunctional families. It creates families that don't last the course. And what we know is that very often families split up where there's disability in the family. So accessible housing is an absolutely vital component of this. If we are going to keep the family unit together, if we are going to keep the family unit functional and able to do what we all take for granted, which is raising a family, having a quality of life, having a quality of somewhere to live, we need to make sure that housing is there and able to do that.